it's me again. This is video log number 8. And if you happen to miss my last one, it was called Being a Daughter. You can go to my YouTube channel called Celeste Claiborne, or you can find it on my Facebook page. It was a good one, very convicting to me, but good lessons I learned. I've got a hat on right now because I am in Vail, Colorado with my husband on a little baby moon before the third baby comes, and it's freezing outside, and I'm sure my hair is a mess if I take this off, so I'm going to leave it on. You guys can see a glimpse of what it looks like out there. It's pretty awesome. It has been so pretty here. It is about 15 degrees though, so we have had to layer up, but we're loving it. It's been a really fun trip for us so far, and just a humbling time, I guess, just realizing like how blessed I really am to have the husband I do, to be surrounded by such pretty scenery, to just get some time away and just to be with Jesus. But this blog I want to talk about has made me grateful specifically for friendships and what they have been to me. Obviously, and first and foremost, my friendship with God, and then my friendship with my spouse, but also other friendships that He has specifically placed in my life that I know have helped me get to where I am, have helped me to walk in His calling, have helped me grow in Christ, and have just made the world come alive. I don't know what life would be without people in it, and people that are not just around you, but that mean something to you. So I wrote this blog, last May, and it's called Friendship. We were studying in our BSF lesson about the friendship between David and Jonathan, and my mom had always kind of told me a lot about that story growing up. She loved how the friendship was depicted and what all it meant, and just the idea that this is what a really godly friendship looked like. And it does. It depicts it in a way that says they loved each other as they loved themselves. They were one in spirit. They made covenant with each other. They became one in spirit, and it was just neat to see what aspects of a godly friendship were like in that way. One of the biggest things was that they were sacrificial with each other. They were wanting to lay down their lives for each other, to fight for each other, to protect each other, and it was very they were very concerned, more so for the other one than for themselves, and that was what was neat. But a couple things that stood out to me when I was studying the blog was one, that it was very unlikely that they should have even been friends, honestly, with the way that things were happening. Jonathan was Saul's son and most likely heir to the throne after him, and then David was chosen by God and anointed to be the next king, and so kind of, in all honesty, it would have made more sense for them to be enemies rather than friends. Jonathan could have hated him just like Saul did and wanted him dead, and I think a lot of people would have understood that or even supported that, and yet he didn't. He loved David, and he supported even the future of his kingdom, knowing that it would not be going to him and that it would be David's. He loved him in spite of that, and so I love that aspect. Another one that kind of hit home a little bit more for me was just the idea that Jonathan seemed to be the one who was kind of like that took care of David, was like the mentor type role for David. David depended on Jonathan. Jonathan gave things to David. When they had to part ways, he gave him his robe and his sword, I think, or anyway, he extended gifts to David, and he was there for David, and he spoke truth into David's life, and he protected David from his father, and it was just a little bit unlikely also to see that he played that role, because David was going to be the next king. David was going to be the leader. David was already the leader of like 1,000 men in an army, and then David was becoming the leader of a nation. And when you think of that role, you kind of think of that makes more sense for them to play the mentor role in a friendship, or that for the one who is to be king to take care of the one who will not be king, or to mentor them, or to extend gifts to them, or to be that for the other person. And yet Jonathan was that for David. And I'm not saying David wasn't that for Jonathan either. I think it was mutual. But he seemed more so to be kind of the mentor figure and the one that David depended on. And so I think in both roles, it really hit home for me. One, like putting myself in David's shoes, it helps me to see that I need to be humble enough to accept help and mentorship and guidance from people, even people that I feel like I need to be leading, or if I'm in a role of leadership, not think that I can't grow and learn from them, from those around me, even if I'm their leader in some way, or they're, in some position over them. And then in Jonathan's role, thinking about him, like he actually stepped up into that place when he could have assumed, oh, well, yeah, it's probably David that should be in that role more than me, or he might have been intimidated to kind of take on that caretaker role or mentor role for David, and yet he didn't. He was confident enough to step into that role and not think that David should initiate it or David should take care of him, but he cared enough to step up and be there for David when he needed him, and David did need him, in a lot of ways. So just some ideas that kind of stood out in that friendship that I hadn't really seen at first, that I wanted to write about, and it really has just affected the way that I have grown in my friendships. I think one of the biggest things is just being able to accept help and to open up to my friends. I definitely struggle with that a lot. I like to help people. I like to be the strong one for people. My friends know this, and they've been very good at pushing me to let them help me every now and then, and not think that I always have to pretend like everything's fine, or that I'm okay, or that I'm strong through whatever I'm going through, because I'm not always, and I need help, and I need wisdom, and I need guidance, and I just need them. I need their love around me. And I think that a lot of people justify it because they think, well, it's a good thing to want to help people. It's a good thing to want to be the giver and be the mentor in that relationship, and that's not a bad desire at all. And I think it is supposed to be mutual in a lot of ways, but if we are not humble enough to accept help from people, we are not going to be able to be vulnerable enough to deepen relationships, because it's purely going to be one-sided, and we may feel so close to them because we're helping them out. They may not feel close to us at all because they haven't seen a side of us that we have that we can't show, or that I can't show when I pretend like everything's okay. So it's just kind of an idea of that, and then also the idea of just being confident enough to step into roles of leadership and help people that I might be intimidated by, or I might think they need to be helping me, or ideas like that I'm not able enough, or I'm not wise enough, or I'm not strong enough to support them in the way I need to. And it just all goes back to like finding your identity first in Christ, so that you can be who you need to be for those around you, and that you can let them be the same for you. So I just want to kind of encourage you guys in that friendship is more important than we think, and it's not just like something fun to have. It's not just fun to have friendships. It is fun, but it's extremely special. It's something that God specifically placed in our lives to extend a representation of Himself in one of the most vivid ways possible. I have seen Christ just as much in the people around me as I have in just my own direct relationship with Him, or in my reading or in direct communication with him. Maybe not just as much. I think my own walk with him is more personal than anything, but he has used people just as much to show me aspects of himself than any other way I have learned. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that he works and speaks to his people is through others. And we need to have the ears to hear, the humility to accept, and to grow from it, and then we can be that for others. And I think even together, like a friendship that is close, a friendship like Jonathan and David's that is one in spirit, is not only amazing in growing our walks with the Lord, it is one of the strongest witnesses that we can have. Our relationships with those around us is one of the biggest witnesses that we can have to those who don't know God that way, or to those who don't have relationships like that. So just kind of recognize that. Look at the people around you and think of the fact that these are people God has given you to help you grow, and then also that the enjoyment of your friendship and the deepness and the how special the friendship is one of the biggest lights that you're going to have to the world. So don't stop investing, and be humble enough to let them invest in you. So I hope you have a good week, and we will talk to you soon.